I'm stuck in a horrible fever dream, nightmare, horror show.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Just disgusting scenes. There was a time losing 2-1 away at Manchester United at Old Trafford wasn't the worst thing in the world. But here, it's a disgrace. It's an absolute sickener. We have not won in that ruddy stadium in the Premier League since Alex Ferguson was manager of Manchester United. Heck, a more sobering highlight of the scenario would be since Rafa Benitez was manager of Chelsea Football Club. This, my friends, is a horrendous nightmare. It's a hoodoo. It's a sickener. It's just a nightmare that will not end. It will not end until I die. That's clearly what the gods have decided. It's just going to happen forever. It's an absolute sickener. Everyone looked at this game, and they were like, well, this is the worst Manchester United team of all time. Or for a long time. Look at my hair, bro. That's just fucking... Oh. Apologies for cursing, but I'm emotional. I mean, it's all fun and games until you lose to Man United, isn't it? Like, literally, it's like, oh, we're a developing young team. We're the youngest team in the Premier League. The youngest team in the Premier League, yep. We've got to iron out kinks. It's all agreeable. It's all understandable until you lose to this Manchester United team. And, of course, there is heavy context required. Rob Sanchez in the 4th minute away from home against a team that just needed that, you know? They just Man United just needed that. Get your goalkeeper, let your goalkeeper do a red card offence in the 4th minute. That's what we need right now. And you know what? The return, the epic return, seemingly epic return of Charity FC. Here you go, Man United. Precisely what you need. And even then, by the end of the first half, they were like, right, here's our red card. Here's our dismissal to even up a little bit. And we get one back, which is teasing. Not early enough from Trev Chalobah. We'll speak about the game and what happened. But the underlying now, this is an absolute sickener. We all said, everyone was saying, a non-negotiable was we beat Man United. This Man United that have lost to Grimsby in the cup, that, the only open play goal they had this season was one scored from Mbermo. Yeah. If we don't beat this Man United team, it's a disgrace. A draw would be a disgrace. That's what people were saying. And then Robert Sanchez said, "Hold my effing beer." This is why I try to praise him, when he does well. But it doesn't matter at all, mate, when you do stuff like this. I will not, and you guys, you know me, I'm into like statistics, numbers, tactics, all the nerdy stuff in football. I will not be gaslit into Rob Sanchez's underlying numbers when he throws them in his own net or last season, and when he does stuff like this away at Old Trafford. And it was the most idiotic red card you will ever see. I'm done, bro. I'm trying to be fair, balanced, and honest. And look, maybe I am being emotional, but this is absolute... Well, trigger warning, I've already sworn in this video. It's absolute dog shit. I'm sorry, mate, it is. It is absolute dog shit. Oh, the gloves are off. It's bollocks, it's bullshit, it's... It's shit. Yeah, my mind is unraveling. We've lost to this Man United team. I'm looking at the SofaScore page. I don't even know if it's worthy of, sharing. Let me try. Okay, let's take a deep breath. All together now. Right, so Maresca's Chelsea bowled up to Old Trafford, of course, losing away in Bayern Munich to Bayern midweek. Manchester United had an entire week to prepare for this game. Not that helped much, but there is a certain guy, a Spanish goalkeeper, that decided to be that help. We set up with Cucurella at left back, Reece James at right back, Fofana and Chalobah starting, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in the midfield, and an attacking three behind the striker. That all went off immediately. In Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer, and Estevao behind Joao Pedro. Joao Pedro, who I feel incredibly sorry for, by the way. And indeed, Trev Chalobah. That's pretty much it, really. Against, Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3. He brought in Casemiro mercifully, but it wasn't enough for us. In the double pivot next to Fernandes. Šeško up top with Diallo and Mbeumo. Of course, the underlying narrative here was Alejandro Garnacho. The Manchester United fans in Old Trafford were consistently singing, understandably, abusive songs about him in the same way the Chelsea... It's the exact same tune and theme that the Chelsea fans sung about Mason Mount. I get it. All's fair in love and war. Every football team would do it, so it is what it is. It would be a sort of... a spicy atmosphere for him, but in the end he didn't come on, even though he was being sort of prepped by Maresca to come on. But yeah, let's talk about it then, mate. It was under 5 minutes, but in the 5th minute Sanchez was sent off, but it was under 5 minutes, yeah. It's his professional foul, last man on SofaScore. There's nothing professional here about Rob Sanchez, mate. So there's a glancing header on, was it Šeško or Fernandes? Someone glanced the header on to Mbeumo. Wait, hold on. Was it Mbeumo? No. I think it was Mbeumo. Yeah, it was Mbeumo who was running through, and Sanchez was like, oh my god, last man, I should come out here. Which, fine, is a decision to be made, but he just... is it? I'm literally losing my mind. Can I defend this guy? I don't think so. It's a moment of madness. He goes out, he fouls Mbeumo, kicks him in the chest. Oh my god, he kicks him in the chest or something. And it's a clear red card. It's the reddest of cards you'll ever see from a goalkeeper. It's an absolute idiotic move, last man. And the beginning of the game away at Old Trafford. Literally the beginning of the match. It's not like 75 minutes. Oh, what's he done? He's given us a massive, task here. No. It's the beginning of the match. It's the beginning of the match. It's right at the beginning. Off you pop. Here we go. Have some of this, Chelsea. You're screwed, mate. Absolute knobber. We might return to him to sort of analyse the scenario a little bit further. But by the way, it was seen as not a serious foul play. It was seen as a professional foul, which means he's got a 1-game ban rather than a 3. But is that good news? By the way, SofaScore hasn't even judged Estevao and Neto because they didn't have enough seconds on the pitch. So, he gets sent off correctly away at Old Traff. Every Chelsea fan on planet Earth recoils in disgust. And he seems to act like he's done nothing wrong when he's done everything wrong. He's rightly been dismissed. And then Maresca reacts. Now, this is important because I really like Maresca. I do, genuinely. I back him as Chelsea manager. And he's not the youngest of coaches. He's 45, 46 or whatever. But he is still quite a green coach. And he reacted emotionally here. Now look, if he had a crystal ball and knew at the end of this half, just see this half out and Casemiro is going to get himself sent off before half time. If he knew that, yeah? If he knew that, he may have not even substituted... I say Estevao. Someone had to go. So look, Estevao had to go. The Brazilian. He's a Brazilian teenager. I don't want to say he's a luxury player, but out of everyone in the starting lineup, he is the luxury player. Or actually, if he knew Cole Palmer's prone to injury and he was gonna, while we're crystal balling here, Cole Palmer came off because of injury. You bring Cole Palmer off. You bring Jorgensen on. You keep Estevao on, yeah, because Casemiro is gonna get sent off, and then we might win the game. But no, and understandably, he doesn't know that. So I think he reacts emotionally in not bringing Estevao off, because he knows at that point, he doesn't know we're going to be 10v10 in the second half. So he brings Estevao off. That is the move. I get it. At the time, at the moment, that's the move. But he brings Neto off as well. And that's silly sausage business, mate. Because Neto is a professional. He works very hard defensively and diligently. Maybe he thought because he's short, we're going to have loads of aerials and we need to not have Neto. But he makes a double change. He brings off Stevau. Oh, Jesus Christ. He brings off Stevau and Neto. He brings on Jorgensen, of course, because we need a goalkeeper. And he brings on Adarabioyo. He brings on an extra defender. I could bring up the heat maps and the players at this point, but I'm beyond that. And yeah, it was the wrong decision. I think we needed Neto in this game. And look, I'm kind of reluctant to put the blame on Maresca here too much because he had such a difficult thing to deal with away from home here. But that was a mistake. I understand in the moment you've got to bring Stevau off and you got to bring a goalkeeper on. I understand that. Hindsight would say, had you known Cole Palmer's injury was going to be aggravated, had you known, Casemiro was going to get sent off, you'd just do Cole Palmer for Jorgensen. But this is, hindsight's 2020 here. Bruno Fernandes scores a goal on the 14th minute. And at that point, I'm thinking it's going to be a freaking long night. Like, I think it's going to be a real long night. I genuinely think at this point, Man United are going to slap us up big time. Because it's 14 minutes in. We're 10 men. And they're cooking. The vibes are up. They're like, they've got the anti-Garnacho vibes in the stadium. And I thought we're cooked here. But, minutes later... like 5, 6 odd minutes later, he takes off Palmer and brings on Santos. At this point, Chelsea fans are losing their minds. They think Maresca's lost it. We learn, of course, later on that, Palmer still has that groin injury. He goes straight down the tunnel, and the optics at that point is Chelsea are screwed. We're screwed. Palmer looks... I've already sweared. Pissed off. He's like doing high fives with Kobbie Mainoo, his homeboy on the touchline, who he's like besties with, from England camp. And we think, Palmer's fuming because he's been hooked in some weird moment of madness from Maresca here, yeah? That's what we think. But the truth is he's got an injury, so fine. A little bit of heat from my brain reduced. But Santos came on, and that's actually, if I'm going to try and sort of find any modicums of positivity from this game, and I'll try and find a couple. The fact how Maresca turned to Santos and trusted him in this moment of peril. And bro, it was peril. We are drowning in peril at this point. So the fact how he's turned to him, I'm like pleased that he's trusted him, and he got involved, didn't he? 37th minute, Casemiro scores a goal. I think it's a set piece. He loves a goal against Chelsea. I was so pleased to see Casemiro starting in midfield because I was like, this brother, he is cooked. He's old. He's a Galactico. He's oddly started scoring goals in his career at Man United as he did here against Chelsea again. But I was still quite pleased, like tactically in terms of like structurally that he was starting, and he scores, Harry Maguire assists him. I swear Harry Maguire for Man United has been a bane of Chelsea as well. Whether it's scoring, assisting, or like doing headlocks on Cesar Azpilicueta that don't get seen as red cards. Yeah, so he's done it again. We're 2-0 down at 37 minutes. We're 10 men. And I feel like, oh my, giddy aunt, we're done here, mate. We're cooked. Cucurella, 44th minute, gets booking. But then Casemiro decides to pull down the aforementioned Santos. I think by the way, from those of you, some of you say it's not a second yellow. It's not it's not like a stone wall, but it's definitely seen. It's not like a travesty. It's a second yellow. It can definitely be seen as a second yellow. Won by the theatrics, perhaps, of Andre Santos, who came on as Maresca's guy. And when you're 2-0 down, you're a man down. You need people to highlight when you're being fouled. Then yeah, I dig it. Do you know what I mean? And Casemiro gets sent off, so it's 10 man apiece at halftime at Old Trafford. Halftime substitution. Ugarte comes on in the midfield for Šeško. So clearly, Amorim at this point is thinking, you know what? It's 10v10. We've been pretty crap. All gloves are off, guys, in this video. let's just get a midfielder, a defensive midfielder for a striker. We're 2-0 up. Let's, defend this 2-0 lead. And I mean, ultimately it worked, by the way. I'm not judging this because he won the game with his decisions and our goalkeeper's decisions. We try and get involved. Fernandez gets booked. Chalobah gets booked. The pitch, by the way, is a disgrace in terms of Old Trafford's ability to drain water. The waterlogging is just, absolutely embarrassing. It genuinely highlights how ridiculous this game is. This game had red cards both sides. Ridiculous, needless red cards on both sides. Chelsea played awfully. Man United are a banter side, and it was all done in a water park where the ball moved in a very peculiar manner, and it was just dumb. It was a dumb football match. It was dumb. Bookings, and then the final. Remember, at this point, Maresca's made 3 changes. Yeah, so he's got 2 left, and he's talking to Alejandro Garnacho at this point, like he's going to bring him on, and the crowd's giving him, grief. I'm thinking probably makes sense to bring him on. Maybe, I don't know. He'll really want to, or does it not? I mean, he's going to get loads of a stick from the crowd. How is he going to deal with that as a young player? But Maresca decides to use his final 2 changes with Gusto for Cucurella, which actually is a straight swap. So Gusto plays at left back, which we have seen before. And then Wesley Fofana for Tyreek George. So ultimately, using one less defender. Tyreek George instead of Alejandro Garnacho, who he himself gets booked shortly after. Amorim makes a bunch of changes, brings on Cunha, Mount, and Euro. But of course, we get the goal, guys. We get the goal in the 80th minute, and it's made in Cobham. Reece James putting in a beautiful cross for Trevoh Chalobah, who heads it home. And, just in the way we need to sort of be disappointed with Trev for a needless own goal in Munich, we need to praise him here because... I've been quite transparent with my position on Trev Chalobah, that I love him, that I think he's proper Chelsea, that I think he's a really high-level defender. But in terms of and I'm not talking about finishing top 4, top 3, top 2. In terms of winning the Premier League, I feel like in terms of profile of 2 centre-backs, it's so important. I've never really seen Trev as that, and I need to maintain my position, otherwise I'm just a flip-flopper. But I love him to bits, and I've always, I've been quite serious about him keeping him in the squad. He does love a goal as well. As Fofana as well. Fofana scored a header, an offside goal, and he was offside. But we've got centre backs that can score, So Trev scores. It's a lovely moment. Goal made in Cobham. James to Chalobah, and James, I think he was our best player, Reece James, and maybe possibly Trev as well, because Trev didn't do anything wrong. He got a yellow, but that was because he had to. I think they were our best 2 players, honestly. I do feel bad for Joao Pedro because of the needless running he did. But at that point, at the 80th minute, when we got one back, 10 minutes plus the additional 7 minutes extra time, stoppage time at 17 minutes, I thought we were probably good for getting, just because of the narrative, to get one back. But we don't, and credit to Man United for doing what they needed to do in this difficult moment, which was just sit back and defend. I think the biggest tragedy is obviously Rob Sanchez, but probably not testing Bayindir in goal when it was 10v10. The fact how in the second half it was equal men on the pitch, and they had Bayindir in goal. Yeah. That alone was the biggest travesty. I'm looking at XG. They had 1.74 to our 0.39. 2 big chances to our 1. So the goals are probably fair. Do you know what I mean? They had a big XG, much bigger XG than us. And while it's in my head, shout out to Jorgensen for making an excellent save against Bruno Fernandes. When Reece James made a couple of errors. One, he slipped in the final third. And lost the ball, and one he gave up possession, which forced Jorgensen to make a great save against Fernandes, so he deserves a shout for that. But ultimately, this... Bayindir didn't have to make a single save. I'm looking at the stats now while I talk to you. It's 5 corners apiece. Our goalkeepers made 2-0, which would have both been Jorgensen, I'm sure. The fact that we didn't make Jorgensen and we scored, it wasn't a set piece because it wasn't from a direct corner, but I think it came back to Reece, who put another cross in. It was kind of a set-piece style goal. But the fact how we didn't force 45 plus 7, 52 minutes of play we didn't force a save out of by India is, or like, have enough shots on him for him to make any saves is probably one of the biggest fails of this match. Right, let's bring it on home. Let's land this horrendous burning plane. Yeah, man. So it's a disgrace, and the narrative of the season has changed really because of a moment of madness. But do I feel worse about this team? Not really. I feel the same about what we need is a new goalkeeper. Look, Sanchez is how old is Rob Sanchez? He's 27. I think he's. I'm literally going to check this now. Robert Sanchez. I'm googling it as I speak to you. He's 20. He turns 28 in a couple of months. Less than a couple of months. Robert Sanchez turns 28. Now, am I saying he's old for a goalkeeper? No, but by 28. You know what you are as a footballer, mate. You know what you are as a human being, as a man. I'm not out here to abuse any footballer, but I've learned, I've been knowing, bro, that he's not the guy. I refuse to be gaslit by the underlying stats. He chucked him in all last season. He was like leading the league for goals, errors leading to goals, and he's done this here in a game where we just simply had to win. Maresca didn't cover himself in glory, I don't think. And I'm not digging out any other players particularly. I did think it became a peculiar, heated, psychological grudge match needlessly because Man United are terrible. And we were down a man or whatever. It was just a really weird game. Anyway, look, it's really bad. They get 3 points and we get none, and they're Man United this season, and we're supposed to be world champions. It's awful. I don't know what else to tell you. Like and subscribe. I'm literally about to walk into the frickin' ocean, so, subscribe. Peace.